Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Fears 2 replay cast. This time we're going to have a 2v2 on Gelsenkirchen Refinery. Everybody hates this map, and hold on. Okay, seems like... Okay, so it seems like the volume is actually extremely low. Never mind, Prolix123 playing as Wehrmacht, GRDN playing as Wehrmacht against... We're going to get the Fog War off. Randy playing as Yosef, and Loslagson. Oh boy, just gonna call him Loss. Playing as the Americans as well, and he's gonna be coming out with some riflemen, and his enemy is gonna be coming up with some riflemen, or sorry, his teammate is gonna be coming up with some riflemen as well. So rifleman party kind of coming in, and there's no music. Why? Okay, finally. Now, Jaredin is going to be coming in with the MG. However, he has to be careful of this red cover. Might get caught out by the rifleman. Rifleman could get behind this truck and get themselves safe from the suppression, but they will decide to stay in the capture point and get themselves suppressed. Yeah, exactly. Pretty good job with the MG. Going to be able to force back the rifleman and capture the center VP, but he's getting flanked at this moment by another rifleman squad from Laston, and he's going to have a very good position from this building over here, this little workshop, and that's going to be very nice. That's my phone running out of battery, and that's going to be very nice, but he decides to do some jumping around with the buildings just to confuse the MG and getting it to reposition a lot, but his teammate does not really decide to capitalize upon that, because he just kept his infantry in a fighting position. He built a fighting position and didn't really do anything. He's bringing up a mortar, which is going to be extremely useful against the MG42, but the riflemen are already doing pretty well against the MG by their own, and so it's going to be pretty easy for the allies to actually take that MG down. That is, unless if they keep just frontally assaulting it, that would be pretty bad. And here comes the mortar rounds. They're going to be able to pretty easily destroy it with the MG, but they decide to target the Grenadiers for whatever reason. There's still no action going on anywhere else on the map, and I think both sides are really not pushing and capturing points as quickly as they should be. MG very, very lucky to escape, manages to get around and around the wall over here and survives. And right now the Americans are just pushing up and capturing all the points, which is what they should be doing exactly. Pretty much Americans rely on being extremely aggressive. If they can do that, then they're going to be in a pretty good position for the later game. And Randy is going for the lieutenant as well, so even more aggression coming out of him. Loslaxon does have the captain available, so we will see a steward hopefully, because it would be extremely good to have a steward when you have a fuel advantage. Of course, right now the allies don't have the control of the left side field point, but they could really easily just move in a unit there, and still no action on the flanks. We have Frolix, who hasn't done anything at all this game. If we look at damage dealt, 0 damage dealt, so exactly 0 contribution to the game means that he's gonna need to do something, or else, well, Jarian is just fighting 1v2, and that's not fun. It's not neither fun nor effective, so you shouldn't do it. And right now, yeah, here comes the flank from the rifleman. Really easily destroys the mortar from Frolix and destroys the other mortar from JRDN, but the rifleman squads are going to go down from the fire of the Grenadiers. Very good job from JRDN coming in and reinforcing his mortar, preventing the fall of it to the enemy, and preventing the fall of this other one to the enemy as well, because I think both of those rifleman squads could have easily captured the mortars had these Grenadiers not being here. And there is a sniper on the field from JRDN. It hasn't done anything in a while, which is, in my opinion, a bit of a waste of 360 manpower. He should have been paying a little bit more attention to where the sniper was, and he should definitely do some probing attacks on the right side of the map, because really he does not know that there's no enemies there, but he could surmise that from the fact that he's getting completely sort of overrun in the areas where he is fighting. And here comes a 2-2 Scott car from Frolix, but he's going to get soon enough rifle grenaded by the rifleman who just gained Vet 1. They're not using the rifle grenade for whatever reason, even though it could have definitely dealt a quite a bit of damage to that armored car. Sniper forces to retreat by the rifleman slash Captain Blob that's coming in the center. MG42 gonna shut that push down very easily, along with a mortar coming into support, and that's a lot of damage dealt on the rifleman. Right now, the Germans are making a bit of a counterattack with some Grenadiers, but they get pushed back by the Lieutenant, so nothing really major happening. And here comes the Stuart, which is extremely good because there's absolutely no counter on the field from the Germans. There is a 4-4-4 for Frolics, but yeah, they're going to be really relying on the Panzerfaust to stop the Stuart, and the 4-4-4 is only really going to be able to take down the Stuart from the rear. Remember that those autocannons do quite a bit of damage to the rear armor of the Stuart, but not from the frontal armor. The frontal armor is strong enough to actually hold against that 20 mil. And here comes the wipe maybe on the Lieutenant. No, Lieutenant manages to escape, and the second scout car does not chase, which is, in my opinion, a big mistake. And the Captain is going to destroy the first scout car, so there goes that scout car. And that was a bit of a major mistake from Frolix. He does not want to be losing troops like that. He has the mobile defense doctrine, and his friend JRDN does have close air support. Close air support is not a good doctrine, in my opinion, especially against double Americans. Because really, when are you going to be using close air support abilities unless you have huge amounts of resources under your control? And right now the Germans don't really have huge amounts of munitions under their control or fuel, so really having a safer option, in my opinion, would have been better for JRDN, such as, I don't know, maybe Spearhead, something like a, Spearhead or Jaeger armor even. And here comes some paratroopers in the south, but they get completely destroyed by the MG42 bunker that Frolix has over here. And the bunker wouldn't just be enough to defend against a lot of things that the Allies are bringing out. Here comes an MG from Randy. Randy going for both Captain and Lieutenant is going to be interesting, because I really wonder whether or not he's going to have sort of a quick window into getting a late game unit if he goes for both the Captain and the Lieutenant, especially when he has gone for the Rifle Company. So he's going to need to get the Tier 4 out to get the Easy 8s that are available from his doctrine. So doctrinal unit that comes in from Tech 4, Tier 4. Ooh, nice job with the Panzer Grenadiers from Frolix. Going to be taking down the Lieutenant and might take down the mortar, but he's going to get his Panzer Grenadiers shot up by the fighting position, which is, in my opinion, not exactly what you want to do, considering the fighting position is very, very easy to just flank. And this Rifleman squad, very, very lucky to escape. Stuart going to be pounding on the MG, and the MG can't do anything about it because it's not Fed 1, so it doesn't have the incendiary armor piercing rounds. Here comes a bit of a paratrooper drop in the rear from Laslaxan, and he's going to be able to use that to capture some points. Very good job by Frolix actually fuel caching this point, because this point could be used as a cutoff. If the Allies can manage to decap the strategic point and then capture this other strategic point, then that would be the cutoff of the fuel. And though, so having that fighting position and sorry, not fighting position, actual fuel cache there would be good. There goes a Grenadier squad from a mortar round. Very unfortunate for JRDN, and really, the Allies need to be just pushing their advantage. And if they can do that, then they're going to have a very easy time. Very good job with the grenade. Going to be taking down that Panzer Grenadier squad. Frolix going for a Puma. That's definitely a mistake, because while the Allies do have a Stuart out in the field, they're going to soon have more stuff, such as the Sherman, that's going to be able to very easily trounce on the Puma. If not mismanaged, of course. We'll see about that. And we'll see that a pack is on the field for JRDN. That's definitely a bit too late for the pack, but it's good that he actually built one. Late is better than never, as people say over here in Italy. And really, having this is going to be so much help against the Sherman. Here comes the first rounds against the Stuart, going to be taking it down. And unfortunately, here comes a incendiary of White Phosphorus Barrage, which is going to be extremely useful against the slow-ass weapon crew. And here comes another Easy 8 Sherman. Actually, no, so not another. It's just an Easy 8 Sherman. Going to be forced away by the Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerschrecks. And that's going to be nice. But unfortunately, something decapped the fuel point on the left side. So really, the Germans are starting to lose in the fuel war as well. Considering the fact that the Allies have 2 medium tanks and a light tank on the field, and the Axis have nothing, then this is a pretty bad position. Here come two capitalist production. Here comes 2 Panzer IVs from the fascists, and then, well, it's gonna be pretty nice to counter the Sherman, the normal one, but the Easy 8 is still gonna be superior to the Panzer IV. Wait, oh no, okay, never mind. Bit of a derp there, and here comes a nice flank coming in from the Sherman and the Stuart. Not quite sure as to what they're trying to do. Here comes a Panzer IV from Frolix, and the Panzer IV from JRDN is also going to be on the field. 2 of them, in fact. I think they should be coming in to support their teammate over here. And here comes a shell shock. Actually, no, a engine point blank engine shot, damaging the engine of the Panzer IV. Panzer IV manages to take out the Stuart, and the Sherman has to run away from the 2 Panzer IVs from JRDN. JRDN managing to get quite a bit of damage in, but the 2 bazooka riflemen force the Panzer IVs to withdraw, and wisely they do so and not expose themselves. Here comes the Grenadiers with the MGs, but they're getting forced away by the riflemen. And here comes also some white phosphorus, so that's going to be basically hitting the American troops as well and forcing them to retreat, which was not exactly the best decision. The Panzer IVs do manage to get on the right side of the map, and the Pioneers are going to capture the repair station to actually speed up the repair. Very good job from JRDN, managing to get his vehicles back on the field much quicker than it normally would be. That's definitely something that sometimes just has to be done, and it's not easy to think about because not everyone thinks about these repair stations. Here comes the white phosphorus, but the Pioneers will be easily able to capture the point. And in fact, the white phosphorus will not even kill the automatrons because it really can't kill anyone. In the center, the 2 Grenadier squads are going to be just headbutting against the American defenses, which are kind of non-existent actually, so this is actually a pretty decent choice. Right now, the Germans really need to be focusing on the right side of the map a little bit more. The flank coming in from the Americans on the right side is going to be devastating if the German troops cannot retreat. Here comes a Jackson, actually, from... is that Frogson, or whatever his name is? Loslaxon. Yeah, that's Jackson, and that's not going to be very useful because the Germans really are relying a lot on medium tanks that the Jackson is going to be good against, but is not really going to be needed against. I would have liked to see more in terms of the actual Easy-8s and Shermans rather than Jacksons. In the southwest, it looks like Frolix has been able to recapture some points, and he's going to continue pushing against the multitude of nothingness that is on the left side. It looks like the MG bunker got taken out, but he's still committing the Panzer IV there, which is definitely a mistake. He needs to be helping out the Panzer IV against these Easy-8s and against the Jackson. Nice usage of the sniper to just do some recon from JRDN. He's just going to be seeing a few of the units here and retreats for no reason. I'm not quite sure as to why he retreated there. And here comes the captain capturing the repair station. Randy's still doing quite well on units. He's 85 pop cap, just like JRDN. And JRDN will also be sort of kind of disadvantaged right now because of the fact that he does not have a late game unit that he can call off from his doctrine. I still don't think that the close air support was a good decision, and he needs to be doing some more probing on the right side of the map. He needs to be just checking out if the enemy has units there, as should these Ostruppen. The Ostruppen not only should be used to reman that MG that's kind of abandoned over here. Is that an MG? Yeah, it's an MG. Not only be used for that, there goes the Puma. Not a good idea to get a Puma this late in the game. And there goes the Panzer IV as well from the swarm of American vehicles. Again, Frolix should have rallied JRDN and sort of built up a big united force instead of just parceling off his units to other sides of the map. Any more than they were needed, really. He just needed 1 or 2 infantry squads to capture the south and west and force the enemy to send in forces to actually recapture it. But he decided to send his entire force, and his entire force got completely bushwhacked by the Shermans, and the Shermans were able to easily destroy the force, despite the fact that it was all that he really had to commit. It was not enough to defeat the Sherman army. And there goes all of the Ostruppen, even those who regained the MG for themselves. They were completely executed by the 50 cal. And here comes a artillery barrage, or actually, no, the rocket strafe from Loslaxon, and that forced away the Panzer IVs and killed 2 of them. So that was a bit of a miscommitment as well by JRDN. Unfortunately, this is just a bit too many Allied tanks to handle. There goes one of the Easy-8s, making a mistake. This is exactly what the Germans need to be doing. They need to be waiting for the Allies to make mistakes and then capitalize upon them. But unfortunately, at this point, they really can't do much because all their units were completely destroyed. And really, the fact that they lack the later game units, the later tier units, and even the call-in units is just working against them because look at this. 2 Jacksons and 2 Easy-8s and a Sherman. So that's 2 call-in, no, not call-in, 2 doctrinal medium tanks plus 2 late game tank destroyers from the Americans against 4 Panzer IVs, which are just your standard medium tank, just run of the mill kind of buttery goodness of medium tank that's not really going to be holding up too much in the later stages against more advanced enemy vehicles. That's really the main problem the Germans had, along with the fact that they really didn't play together at all. You can see that always right now. The Allies with their vehicles were always just kind of rally together. And where the fuck did the Easy-8s go? One of the Easy-8s died. Not quite sure as to how. Oh, right, over here. And yeah, really, the Allies are just kind of a little bit more coordinated. They always had their troops together. They always had their tanks together, especially their tanks. And they always moved around as a big group and did tons of damage together. Up until the end of the game where they decided to split off. And look, there goes the Easy-8. There goes the Sherman over here. So, you know, they took losses because they were split off. And earlier on they weren't split off, so they didn't take any losses. And there goes the Jackson from 2 pack guns. 2 pack guns again. I just said 2 pack guns, and they're just doing extremely well. There goes another kill from the P-47 strafe on the Panzer IV. And JDRDN will be down to 1 tank, but unfortunately, triple cap is still around for the Allies, so they're going to be able to easily destroy the remaining reserve of Axis VPs. Already, I think, explained what I thought about the game, so I don't think I'm going to do it again. But yeah, doctrinal selection, coordination between teammates, and in general, maybe a bit of coordination also between units, because these packs were always just kind of left behind without really doing much, and I always saw the tanks going in without infantry support for the Germans, except a couple of times Frolics brought in on his Panzer Grenadiers, so that could have been a little bit better done as well. Here comes a demo charge from the paratroopers. That's definitely not going to work. And also doctrinal selection does apply to Frolics as well, because really, mobile defense, while a good doctrine, it's really a bit more advanced in its usage. Like, it's not for the new player, it's not for someone who's still kind of learning the game. And rip, this round did not hit that Sherman. That's the end of the game. Pretty good game. Unfortunately, plagued by a couple of mistakes for the Germans. What could have been a pretty long, prolonged sort of struggle turned out into a bit of a stomp, but with a couple of changes, that could have been different, and that's really all that matters. That's a interesting line of fire from the American riflemen. And I'm gonna sign off on that. So I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the cast. Hope you learned something. Tell me in the comments what you think, and I'll see you soon.